up, everyone? Greetings from this country bumpkin finally found his way out of the middle of nowhere and back towards civilization-ish something. It's been quite an experience driving out here and dealing with real traffic and real highways with like multi-lane exits and more than 2 or 3 lanes. And nice people. We have some nice people in our facility out here, but unfortunately, I couldn't imagine myself living out here. It's just too built up. You know, I've been in the woods for too long. It's just, I like getting mad at the one person going 63 on the interstate all the way to work, and then you get out to like Western Connecticut, around Hartford, New Haven, trying to get to the New York state line. You get all those commuters and the trucks and the people that are used to that stuff, and they're blowing by you and flipping you off. And I'm like, I'm in the slow vehicle lane. You know, I'm not a left lane troll. I'm staying on the right as much as I can, and actually staying on the right caused me to, I got to Hartford, and I wound up having to drive through the city a little. Oops! Thank goodness it was the middle of the day and not rush hour. That would have been a nightmare if it was. Oh man, yeah. So, oh shoot, I lost the highway. Hi, Governor Malloy! But I made it. It's actually quite nice when you get out here to upstate New York. Very, very scenic. I've been out here before. There was one year in high school when I went to the PointCon gaming convention at the West Point Military Academy. So I've been out in this neck of the woods before, and I think I actually drove past the West Point exit for to get out here. So I'm not too familiar with my New York geography. So fortunately, my tablet has a GPS in it, although I am using open source maps. So it kind of was a bit of an issue when I got to around here, and the thing had me doing loop-the-loops around the Air Force base that's around here. Oh man, this is a thing. It's been an experience getting out here and getting around here as well, not knowing the area and having to GPS everything with maps that I downloaded before leaving Connecticut. So it's I still haven't even put that thing on the hotel Wi-Fi yet, but take care of that afterwards. I'm gonna have trouble getting to sleep tonight, so maybe I should actually drink some coffee. Well, alright, it's enough of the daily minutiae here. It's something really, you know, I hear the stories about New York minutes, New York people being all worked up and stuff like that, and I can believe it. You know, some of the crazy New York drivers around here remind me of Rhode Island drivers. But then again, out here is kind of about as built up as like the Warwick area or the Greater Providence area. And there's actually a channel on YouTube called Road Rage. That's R-H-O-D-E Rage, like Rhode Island Rage without island. It's actually a guy that does dash cams around Providence and the nutty drivers around there. Rhode Island drivers, man. Oh man, I lived in Rhode Island for a couple of years. It's why I think that anything over 45 minutes is a road trip. Or even 45 minutes is a road trip. So yeah, I know a few things about that, that's for sure. So one thing we should probably mention, so I just did that Ashen's pastiche parodying his hotel room review. This is obviously nowhere near as interesting, but I am at the computer desk, even though right over there is a perfectly nice looking chair. But I found out when I sat over there that there was like next to nothing in the background. I didn't want to look like I was in some kind of mystery room somewhere. So, Alright, so yeah, so I've recorded the Ashen's pastiche, I'm recording this, and I'm going to record one more thing before calling it a night, so I'm going to have trouble getting to sleep tonight. Yeah, it's definitely been an experience coming back to civilization, but I can't for the life of me imagine myself living out here. And the folks on the warehouse team out here, they have, they're a great group of people to work with, but they don't realize just how stressful this area is, just trying to get from point A to point B. You know, and that's the thing, we try to go, oh man, 4-lane, like, non-highways is practically unheard of where I'm from. If you hit 2 lanes, you're probably on either a pseudo-highway or an interstate. And we don't have, like, 3 lanes in regular roads around here. We have to fight traffic and, you know, cut people off to get in the right lane at the stoplights and everything. It's just, oh man. And that's the thing. Out here is significantly more built up than anywhere near the Geek Suite. Probably the entire county, actually. And I really found out just how much of a country bumpkin I really am. even though this is the life that I could have had when I graduated college, if I'd gotten a job in the city and everything, I really think I'd be more of a mass transit person, catching buses and subways and things like that. You can keep this driving through even decent-sized suburbs. It's just, they can keep that stuff, you know. So it's definitely been an experience. Now here's the thing though, this place is a lot more built up than anywhere in my neck of the woods, notably more built up. And that's the thing, I've been working with some folks. We tried going out to a restaurant where everybody had their own, and we all drove out there, and I lost them twice. They had to pull over and wait for me to catch up, because driving a rent-a-car around, so nervous about that, not used to the vehicle. And it's really, these people get so used to this rat race out here that some hick, like, I've been trying to explain to them that, you know, I've been trying to explain to them, even the restaurant, even the Chili's that we went to for supper tonight, great food by the way, it's notably more upscale and expensive than anything where I am. You have to travel at least 2 or 3 towns to get to something like that. So it's just, I don't think they really understand just how woodsy or not built up the area where I live actually is. So, yep, it's been fun coming out and seeing civilization. And you know that Craig Morgan country song, "More Trucks Than Cars," that verse about, you know, living in the city, good luck, come on out here to, you know, I think I am very much a country guy, and I should stick to just industrial parks and rural towns and not this stuff. How does anyone put up with it? I would definitely go mass transit, buses, subways, commuter trains, vans. I don't care. You know, I could live in a city environment where I was catching trains and stuff like that, and I didn't drive anywhere, or out in the woods where you have to drive anywhere in order to go anywhere, but not in the middle. This is kind of like the worst of both worlds. You got traffic like you're trying to drive through a city, and then you see trees, and you're like, am I in the country, or am I in the city, or am I in the burbs, or what? So, yeah, I could have lived this kind of life, you know, being a corporate nomad, but I'm not so sure if the rat race is really worth it. You know, the two role models that I had growing up were my dad and my uncle. My uncle was always the hot shot. He never wanted to work for a boss, ever. He always tried to become a manager or run a company or be some kind of executive or something like that. And he lived in a more built up and far richer area than I've ever lived in. I mean, my cousin who grew up in those neighborhoods, gated community at one point, my cousin who grew up in those neighborhoods, she actually got made fun of because she's the only one on the block whose maid was part-time instead of full-time. Just shows what a difference we are here. So, you know, my uncle was always the, you know, go for it, go for the gusto, you know, rise to the top type thing. And then my dad was always the 9-to-5er who liked to be able to put work behind him at the end of the day. And I've kind of taken influence from both. But I really think that my dad has had a ton of, has tips the scale. You know, if I have to choose between making a moderately okay living and keeping a roof over my head and not having to get white-knuckle just getting to work in the morning, I think I'll do that. You know, city slicker, I am not. Give me the trees, the farms, the rednecks, and the broken down trucks. You know, fresh air when I open the window or something along those lines, and they can keep this other stuff. Although if I were in a very urban environment where I didn't need to drive, I could deal with that because I've already lived in an environment where there's people everywhere and you're like pushing through crowds to get to where you need to go. You know, college was kind of like that. You know, trying to get to class on time when everybody's like crowding through the halls and you're faster than them and stuff like that. So, so really that's it. I mean, I can either be a total city slicker where no driving, or out in the woods where you have to drive to get anywhere, but not in the middle. Out here in the middle is the worst of both worlds. Yeah, I'll pass on that. Considering I got honked at and passed on the right, even when I wasn't in the, I don't left lane troll or anything, but it's just a nightmare. Tomorrow's probably going to be worse because I'll be closer to rush hour when I get out of here. So I may just put in a very rural route to get back to Connecticut that dodges Hartford completely. I don't care how long it takes. I don't want to. Let's just say that to make a long story short, there are no 2-lane exits where I'm from. So here I was thinking I was in the trucker lane with the slow vehicles because I wasn't trying to be a speed demon when it's lanes and cars everywhere. So I wasn't trying to be a speed demon or anything. And I wound up in downtown Hartford. Had to find the highway again and get back on. Dodging cars that were illegally parked. You're supposed to be able to, you go to the end and you have to swerve around the last car that's illegally parked and then make a right turn. And forget it. Boston, Providence, that's what mass transit was made for. No thanks. Yeah. And then I want to try and find a place to have lunch. Okay, I'm past Hartford now. Let's see if I can find a place to have some lunch. And that didn't work out either. I got off the highway and missed turns multiple times. I wound up going through the back roads. Nice to get a break from the highways and see some more familiar scenery, so to speak. Western Connecticut, in the woods out there, really nice towns. I eventually found a big Y to have my lunch in that consisted entirely of a Snickers bar. I eventually found lunch. I was like, oh, Big Y, finally a familiar sight. You know what the interesting part is? You'd think that, see, where I'm from, you travel towards civilization, you start seeing these, strip malls with the same 6 stores, like Aldi, Target, Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, Home Goods. It seems like every couple of exits, number one, there's rest stops on the highway, and every couple of exits, you have some kind of mall and a bunch of restaurants. Everything's clumped together. You just dodge some traffic and you enjoy yourself when you get to where you're supposed to go. But not in Western Connecticut. I kept running into Al's Ale House or something like that. Some little mom and pop. You get off at a food exit and it's like some little mom and pop restaurant that isn't open until 12 or something like that. Nobody's there. So it's I actually wound up in South Britain, Connecticut. Thanks, GPS. Really, it's not that bad out there, actually. I just would dread, I go to some moderately sized town to go to an industrial park, but I got a feeling that if I lived out in those sticks, I would probably have to travel to Hartford or something, New Haven, Meriden, where there's actually some money and some civilization and some traffic. Yeah. It's been a long, hard lesson, because I've thought about what could have been if I had gone to Boston or Providence right after college. See, I was a boomerang when I graduated, so to speak. I was a boomerang. I came back home to my hometown, and I wanted to start small. I didn't want to go jump out into the great unknown and then risk having... Well, of course, the Great Recession happened, so imagine what that would have been like. Imagine if the economy dropped out when I was in a city apartment that's $1,500 a month or something instead of Sticksville. So, oh man, that would have been just... Yeah, So I guess I'm seeing what could have been with this trip, because this trip is actually the shorter of the trips that I'm going to be taking, but it's actually going to be, it's the harder of the two, because I'm out here alone. I've never been out here before. I don't know anything. I just type it in the GPS and hope it works. The GPS had me doing laps. I eventually had to do road signs to actually get to where I was supposed to go. It took me 5 hours to do a 3-hour trip. Yeah, plus there was a lot of construction getting through Connecticut. The weather's nice, everybody's trying to do all the road construction now, so I kept running into construction. I even stopped on a 4-lane highway because of a road crew at work there, so it's not going to be fun, but I'll be glad when this trip's over. It's the harder of the trips, though, even though it's just going to New York. I have other trips that are, I don't know when they're happening, but there's one to Ohio and there's one to Florida. And they're both going to be week-long trips, and I'm probably just going to be a homebody in the hotel because, I'm just not any kind of city person at all, and I've learned that the hard way just getting out here. And we're talking upstate New York. Even here in upstate New York, when you get back to 2-lane highways and actually being able to breathe easy on the highway and enjoy the beautiful scenery in these mountains out here, even here in upstate New York, it's still more built up than the sticks that I'm from. Yeah. Well, at least there's actual mass transit out here. I'd probably take a bus or something. Buses, trains, subways. Man. Whew. It's probably a good thing. I don't know. Alright, enough of the rambling. I'm going to do one last video before calling it a night. And it's been an experience. So glad to be getting to civilization again here. But let's do one more. Let's call it a night. This is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.